Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Marcia. And please do send that link out.
Okay.
I know I would be interested in seeing it. I think that along with all the heartache that crises bring, they also bring silver linings. And to me, one of the great silver linings from this experience is a vast expansion in our ability to communicate visually and virtually with anybody, almost anybody, anywhere in the world. We wouldn't be able to have a program like we're having today without this capacity and without having really been forced into it because we can't see each other in person. So I first want to thank Lynn and Mark for introducing us to Nurit and Nurit's colleagues and students who have been joining in. We're just very excited to have you with us and looking forward very much to hearing what you have to say. And with that, I will turn the screen over to Lynn and Mark.
Hi, everyone. Mark and I are so excited about what's about to happen, and I'm sure you're all going to be very touched by it. Hi, everybody. As you all know, Mark and I were in Israel in January, just before the pandemic, and we had the great good luck to meet Nurit Very and her partner, Claire, and they have formed a school. She's going to tell you all about it. It's only 2 years old, International Baccalaureate. And my favorite description of the school is, just because our parents hate us, hate each other and want to kill each other, doesn't mean we have to. I mean,
Amen.
I'm so touched. And Nurit is an inspiration to me because, you know, she went to the Technion and she got her MBA at UC San Francisco. And for 20 years, she worked for Klein Glasgow, in charge of sales and marketing. And then she decided it was time to do something great for the world. Just like we're having the whole Black Lives Matter, because there is so much all over the world today. You know, there's so much terrible stuff. People hate each other. They're afraid of each other. And of course, it all starts with fear. And what do we do? How do we get rid of fear? Well, we have to start when they're very young. And I'm so grateful to Nurit and Claire and what they are doing. And Mark and I are involved in this now big time. And we are doing a Rotary International project. We want everybody to know about this. And so it is my proud pleasure to introduce Nurit Very to you from Israel.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to my friends from Rotary Israel, Menachem and Nahum, who I see are here, to Wendy, who works with me, and to the most amazing thing, actually, that could be with GHIS. It's our students, and we have 4 of them with us today, and that's what you really want to hear about. But first of all, I want to thank Mark and Lynn for being just such special people. And from the first time we met in Tel Aviv, and we've been friends since, we're learning to love each other. So thank you so much. And thank you for bringing all that positive energy and for bringing us in. And I do have a few slides. Actually, Nancy, do you want me to share some?
Yes, I set it up so that we can both share. So you,
Okay.
I just turned mine off.
Okay, so, oh, it doesn't allow me to yet.
I'm seeing a screen.
If you let me be a co-host, then.
You know, for some reason in my account, I'm going to have to make you host because it doesn't give me the option of co-host.
Oh, okay, I'll give it.
That's fine. That's fine. By the way, all I want to say is that what we'll need you to do is stay with us until we close, because if you're the
I'll be
host,
happy to do that.
Yeah. Otherwise, because otherwise, if you're the host, when you get off, it shuts the whole meeting. We had that experience last week. So let me make you the host, and then we'll go from there. Here you are.
Great. So meanwhile, I'll start talking, and I'll tell you that Wendy from our team is here with me, and she's the expert of the program. So She will be happily answer any questions and join in when it's the right time. And just a few slides to give you a little bit of background. And then, do you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, let's see. I want to make sure you do. Okay, a few slides. And
Oh, there we are. Yay.
okay, so Givat Haviva International School is not just a school, it's actually a community. It's a community of young, very passionate leaders that you'll meet very soon who want to make this world different. Half of them come from Israel and half of them come from all over the world. But before I introduce them, and I promise just to take 5 minutes of your time, I want to tell you about how this all started. So as Lynn said, I actually came from the corporate business world. I worked in the industry that I used to say everybody hates, but now with COVID, everybody loves, the pharmaceutical industry. Everybody's looking forward for some good news from that industry. And at 2015, I went to volunteer with my family in an orphanage in Zimbabwe. And after coming back from a few weeks in Zimbabwe, I just decided I can't go back to the corporate world and I need to do something different. I came to this place, Givat Haviva, which has been around for 70 years, connecting Jews and Arabs in Israel. And everything they have done until then was actually short-term programs or summer programs. And that was a time when we started to think about doing something that has more length, more depth than just day programs or 3 week programs or short-term opportunities for people to meet each other. And soon you will hear from the students, but we actually went to ask to get the IB approval to teach IB. I'll talk a little bit about what IB is. And we got the approval in February 2018 to open the school. Everybody in the world told us that when you get an approval to open a school in February 1 year, you wait for probably 2.5 years and open the school in August 2020. But we knew that when we have the IB approval and the government of Israel's approval to open the school, we have to speed and open the school. And as you know, we probably had 4 elections since, so luckily we speeded, and between February 2018 and August 2018, we probably called most of the people that we know around the world to reach out and try to bring people who will come to this international school. It seemed like an impossible mission, but we opened in August 2018 with 55 students, and here are just a few of them, and you will talk to others, but we finished this year, which is our 2nd year, with 108 students, 25% of them Jews from Israel, 25% of them Arabs from Israel, and 50% from all over the world, including many conflict zones. We have students coming from Armenia, from Kosovo, from different countries in Africa, Liberia, South Sudan, as well as students coming from the United States, from Germany, from Austria, from Honduras. So really all over the world, 22 countries represented. What is so unique about GHIS? So first of all, this is like the island of hope. It's a magic island where Jews and Arabs are together, religious, secular, Israelis, international, so many ideas. But you know, the main thing they learn is kindness, because if you learn how to be kind to each other, then it overcomes so many differences that they can build long-term friendships, and they learn how to build together hope and a community. through the school, we're building the knowledge and the leaders who will know how to go forward and lead this world. And I'm sure that in 5 minutes, when you hear these students, you will agree with me that these are going to be the leaders into the future. They're also focusing on conflict resolution and democracy, not only in theory, but they will tell you a lot about their experiences, on the ground experiences in these areas. We're committed to give educational opportunities to students from all over the world who will not get those opportunities elsewhere. And for a change, it's some good news coming out of Israel. There's not much of that lately, so at least we hope we are. IB is a very rigorous high school program, and for those of you who know it, I think you will agree that universities around the world are looking for IB graduates, and we see it really opens doors for our young students around the world. There's a lot of international interest in what we're doing. We had presidents visit us. We had US Congress members. We had ambassadors. I can tell you that one of your Congress members actually wrote me an email recently, and he said, I'm going to drive home from Washington, DC to Detroit. On the way, I'm going to make some phone calls to a few people that I think will be interested to hear about your program. So I say, if members of your Congress decide to email me before they drive home, then probably there's something interesting here. And the Washington Post have visited us, and we hope soon there will be an article there. And I'll share the presentation later, so you will see some of the quotes of all these lovely children. But more impressing, you will hear from them. Just one more slide is to really thank you, and specifically thank Mark and Lynn. And you know, all of our partners and our supporters up to now are individuals who just met us like Lynn and Mark and fell in love with the students and what we're doing. And this is the first time that we're actually partnering with such a large organization. And it's an honor, and we're very proud to be selected as Rotary partners. And this is maybe the opportunity also to specifically thank Lynn and Mark, because they understood that Rotary is not giving matching gifts anymore. So they personally stepped up, and they're putting a $25,000 for dollar matching gift to any donation that will be given. But I think we'll talk more about that at the end.
Sorry to interrupt, but can you put everyone on mute?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
And this is probably the time that we will start talking to our students. So we have 3 students from our 11th grade who are actually going to start their 12th grade in 2 weeks. They have been 1 year in the school, and we have Christina, who is a graduate. She's been with us from the day we started, but let's start with Odem, Muhammad, and Bashak. Odem, will you start by introducing yourself and tell us where you're from?
Of course. Good afternoon. My name is Odem, and I'm 17 years old, and I come from a small kibbutz called Magan Michael in central Israel.
Muhammad?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. So my name is Muhammad, and I'm 18 years old, and I come from Jerusalem, from the east part of Jerusalem, from a really small neighborhood, Arab neighborhood called Esoya. And yeah, nice to meet you all.
And Bashak?
Hi, I'm Bashak. I live in Turkey, but I live in Istanbul in Turkey. But I was in Israel last year, and I will be in Israel in 2 weeks. And I'm so excited to see all of you here.
Christina? Will you just say hi, and then we'll talk with you for later on.
Yes, hello, I am Christina Bazia. I'm 19 years old, and I'm from Juba, South Sudan.
So Odem, Muhammad, and Bashak, let's start with you guys. Odem, can you tell me a little bit about the fact that how you grew up? How much did you know about others in Israel when you were growing up?
Yes. So where I come from, everyone is the same. I come from a very small community, and in this community, these kinds of communities are thought of as very progressive and very liberal. But I always felt like I was stuck. I felt like people were talking about these big ideas, and they were talking about acceptance, but nothing. Everything was in theory, and I never had a single Arab friend. And even though there are Arab villages just 5 minutes away from where I live, and so I really wanted to go out. I felt that I could do so much more. And but I was very scared because, as I said, all I knew is one thing. I only knew one version of myself, and but I wanted to discover others. So I came across an ad for the school, and I told myself, okay, try, why not? And at first, it was very difficult for me to adjust, and it was very hard to question my identity on a daily basis. Every encounter that I had, Bashak and I are roommates, and she's from Turkey, as she said, and I'm from Israel, and she's a Muslim. And I remember we were having all these deep conversations into the night, and I was learning every single minute of the day, which was so different than my life at home, because everything, I knew what will happen every day, and I got bored. And something about GHIS is that it's never boring, and there's always more to learn, and always more people you haven't spoken to, and always more experiences you haven't even thought of to hear about. So
Great, Odem, thank you. Bashak, what an unusual decision to come to study in a school in Israel. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so my life back in Turkey was actually kind of different. I was a student in a boarding school, and my friends were coming from all over Turkey, but I was only seeing like Turks in Turkey, even if there are many Armenians or Kurds in Turkey. So and I realized that I'm very normal in Turkey. In Turkey, there's like 3 million of young people tries to go to university, and you have to be so special to be the one who goes to a good university. And I thought that I have to do something different than my peers. And I saw my friends going to the US, going to Europe, or to India, to China. But since the political situation between Turkey and Israel is kind of complicated, none of my friends chose to go to Israel. So I said, why not? And as you know, Turkey is also a kind of conflict area. Like there are many terrorist things that you don't want to be a part of, and I lived in that atmosphere for 16 years. And I said, I want to change this world. And I thought that if you want to change the world, you have to know what you want to change more, and more specifically, more deeply. So I chose to go to Israel, which is also a conflicted area, and there I really like learned many things that I never thought of, or I never read of. So I'm really happy that I went to Israel, which actually changed my future plans, what I want to do in university, after university. And like, I'm really passionate about what I want to change the world. And now I'm exploring the problem in its heart in Israel. So that will make me a better person, or like the process of solving problems easier.
Great. And I must tell you all our great guests, I'm leading them with a few questions, but I would love later if you have questions through the chat, or if you just want to ask questions, whatever way you think is best. But Muhammad, tell us a little bit about your background and your experiences before coming to GHIS, and maybe how you came here.
I would love to. I, as much as we all have different experiences and stories, I feel like we all have things in common, and that's what make us really like a community in the school. So as I said, I come from Jerusalem, from the east part of Jerusalem, and I lived in a, I would say also like in a community, an Arab community, really small, in a really small town, and for like my entire life, I was raised and born in Essaouira, and in that town, and I used to go to the public school in the town, and I was doing a Palestinian education system, and you know, my entire life was just going to school, going back home, and pretty much it. And I also lived with my grandparents' house in a family house, so there's like, you know, I would say like I have a lot of things that are going on with like family drama daily, but in my personal like life, I just, you know, I just go to school from 7 to 1 and then go back home, and that's it. And then you know, I got involved with the years and everything, and I would say at some point in my life, I feel that I am in a place where I don't feel really that much of connected, as also like, you know, I live in a different like community as, let's say, Autumn, my friend Autumn does. Like she said, let's say she lived in a really open-minded and community, but it's still like, it's surprisingly that I lived in a, I would say not really that much of open-minded community, but I was also facing the fact I didn't really feel connected and everything. So I knew that I'm gonna, you know, go to my school. I had my peers and my friends. They are the same few, like small group for like 10 years. You know, I didn't really interact as much as I could in my community, because I felt I didn't really go with the values or like the mentality that I didn't feel really I fit there. But that didn't make me just, you know, to not move on. So I tried to explore as many things as I can, and I guess my source of like exploring was at some point was the internet and online. So I used that source as my place to explore like different things that I cannot experience where I live, since like you know, it's really limited, and I'm not exposed to many things as I could as like let's say a typical teenager in different place in the world. So I in ninth grade, I remember I knew that I need something that can be the key for me in the future, because I knew that, yeah, I would go do a typical life and future as my peers and my family did, go from high school, graduate, and then go work, and then maybe go to university and then come back, work, and I don't know, not even using their degrees and everything. And I felt I don't want to do that. So I started learning English and online, because I knew, like, you know, my school won't prepare me to the world with English and everything. You know, the fact that now I'm here in an English speaking school, I think I did a pretty much good job.
I don't.
Sorry, you're muted, Nurit.
I'm not sure if you all got it, but Muhammad actually self-taught himself English. So the English he's speaking now is after he taught himself, because he understood how important it is and how it will get him into life.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy that I did that decision in my life. So
maybe share a little bit about what was this year for you like?
Mm-hmm. So, as how big it is for me to be able to speak English, I think was a bigger uh, things in my life, be a part of and a member of the school community. And last summer was, I would say, the station of like one of the biggest station in my life, where I would say, doing the most courage decision and applying to a school where it will be like I will have like a total different lifestyle, total different atmosphere and environment. So I applied to the school and I got accepted that during that period of time, where like I faced a lot of issues with convincing with family, with me going to live in a boarding school and with study with like girls and boys and let's say Jewish and Arabs and international Christians and all this like exposure and diversity, which is, I would say, almost not existed in my culture and everything. But you know, there is always a first for everything, and I hope I would be like the one who will, you know, do this small change. So as much as different from my life, I felt like I'm ready to step in a total different things in my life, and I'm ready to explore and experience all these new things to me. And I think the first day I was here in the school, the fact that I was, you know, interacting with, you know, girls that are not my cousins, that I'm interacting with people that are not Arab, they're not Muslims, they're like, you know, I think that was crazy from the first day. And I just feel like here I am. Here where I feel like I fit in, I connect, and here's like what I want to experience and to explore more. I think it started from like, I would say the day, like the first hour that I was in the school. And then a week and time passed, and I got to be to study like, you know, a really good education, and where I feel like I can really develop my thinking and my like critical thinking skills. Also to just develop small things like social aspects and skills that not as many teenagers could develop in really this, you know, early stage. And I got to experience my first field trip was in the school here too. I think that was like really crazy for me, and for others couldn't believe it. But yeah, I remember the first trip we had with the school it was my first field trip ever. We did camping and everything, but this is really small experience that, I know, it meant a lot to me. Also the fact that now I'm a friend with like a lot of, you know, like diverse, I would say, friends, which I don't really, I shouldn't be like that appropriate, but now I'm a friend with like, you know, Israelis and many people from like Kosovo and US, and I now with a roommate from Honduras, and he's like also my best friend. Besides the fact now I'm experiencing I would say the most thing that the school is focusing on, the leadership. And I think I wouldn't expect myself to be really engaged and in that field, but I guess a part of me being in the school, it becomes just something naturally. And I think we all developed at some level. And I'm really happy now that I got to be elected to be a representative in the school leadership. When I come from a place where I wouldn't imagine myself even be in this like environment and atmosphere, and being able to be like a representative in this place, I think it means for me, and it will be of like always remarkable like things I did and I was able to have in my life. So I wouldn't,
great.
Just small thing. I think if we would go through the experiences that I had here, I think it will take like a lot of like a full day. So hopefully this short brief would give you a picture of.
I'm sure, Mohammed, they will have more questions for you, but I want Christina to have a few minutes to introduce herself and tell us about your experience coming to GHIS and in the last 2 years. And Christina, as I said now, is a graduate, and we are so proud to have her as one of our graduates. Christina, to you.
Okay, so I have a very long story. Sometimes I feel like, you know, when I start telling my story, people get bored, but I'll try my best to make it short. So I was born as a refugee, and my life was filled with a lot of conflict. And it all started when my parents fled Sudan a long time ago because of the regime at that time and because of the conflicts. So they fled Sudan to be alive. And since then they became refugees. So from Sudan they fled to Syria, from Syria to Lebanon, and that's where I was born. I was born in Lebanon, but after some point it wasn't really good there for us. So we fled again to Egypt. From Egypt, we fled to Israel. So it's not my first time here in Israel. You know, the journey from Egypt to Israel wasn't really like, you know, like any other, um, like, you know, people traveling and stuff. We walked all the way from Egypt to Israel through the Sinai Desert. And I remember that some night I cried a lot and I asked my dad, um, why are we not stopping? And I have to sleep. I have school tomorrow. And my dad told me at that time that don't worry. You're going to a new place and you're joining a new school and everything is going to be fine. Eventually we reached the Israeli border and I lived in Israel for 6 years. It was like the longest period I ever lived in any place. And I went to a Jewish school. I lived in a Jewish community, and I considered myself part of the Jewish community. And then one day in 2012, I came back from school, and I phoned my parents in the living room, and they're like, the moment I entered the house, they're like, we have to talk. So I sat down, and they told me that we're going to South Sudan. At that time, I didn't know anything about South Sudan, and I questioned. I was asking my dad, how does it look like? How the people look like? Which language they speak there? And I felt really hurt. I felt hurt that I was I was I was going away from this place I call home. And the reason my dad told me that it was because um, in 2001, South Sudan gained independence from Sudan. And after that, the Israeli government decided that it's safe for us to go back home. So there is no need for us to be here. Eventually, we left to South Sudan, and life was really, really hard in South Sudan. I just, it was just really hard for me, and I felt like all the time I was like, um, you know, going to a place and then you spend some time there, and at some point they tell you that you're leaving, you're going somewhere else, and that's how my life, like things just worked in my life that way. So yeah, things were really, really hard in South Sudan, and it became even harder when the civil war erupted. It was for the first time I witnessed conflict and heard gunshots, and it was really horrible. It was really, really horrible, and it was for the first time in my life I understood why my parents were like, running from one place to another, never settled. And I remember as a young kid, whenever I asked them, they were like, no, we're just exploring the world, nothing really much. And I want you to see the world. Um, so, um, and then I couldn't stay there because, we feared and we thought that we were all going to die. But then I was rescued by an NGO called Become True, and it was founded by two Israeli um, in order to rescue South Sudanese kids who were asylum seekers in Israel. So that's how I got rescued and taken to Uganda, where I studied in a boarding school for 4 years. So, my life in Uganda was actually also hard because when I reached Uganda, I was like, I was safe. And that was like, it was really good. But then I left my family behind, and I was, I was so, so scared. And it was just hard for me. At that time, I was I was only 13 years old when I left my parents and fled to Uganda. So it was just hard for me. And it was the first time I was without my parents. I had to grow up. I had to be my own parent. And yeah, and that's when I started thinking of all this thing about like, how can I reunite again with my family? And then I was like, if you're to reunite with your family, then the situation in South Sudan has to at least be better. And that's when I started like getting so much interest in politics, in leadership. And I looked at the system that I was in that time in Uganda. And it was sort of, it wasn't a bad system, but all it taught us was just, to pass exams. And there was nothing like leadership. They didn't talk anything about leadership, how to change things. And it's just like, I felt it wasn't for me. And that's when I, heard about Givat Haviva. And I was just, the moment I saw the ad about Givat Haviva, I was like, this is my place and I'm not going anywhere. I just want to go to Givat Haviva. Take me to Givat Haviva. And the thing that really attracted me to the school was like the leadership quality. And I was like, if I go there, I'm going to come out of that place and I'm like, I'm a leader. I can go back home and change stuff. But yes, now I graduated, but I'm not yet a leader and I can't go back home still. But yeah, I think there are a lot of experiences that that just so amazing that I have in Givat Haviva. But one thing that it really taught me is just like, not to pity yourself, and, self-pity won't take you anywhere. And it taught me to discipline myself and to be just, to be who I am. Because, when I came, I was really, I came really scared, and I was like, now you're coming all that way from Africa, and, you're going to study with kids from all over the world. And, they know English far better than you, and they know things that you don't know, and you're going to fail and you're not going to do good. And it's just like, I had all these negative thoughts, and which really affected me in the first year, because in the first year I was like really, really bad in terms of academics and everything. I was not social. I didn't talk to anyone. But then slowly by slowly, when like, and the thing there is that, people came to my rescue, and people reached out to me before me even asking. And that's the most amazing thing that I got in Givat Haviva, that my teachers and my mentors came to me, and they were like, they reached out to me, and they're like, and we know that you need help, and we're here for you. And that's how it all started. And I gained my confidence, and now I can speak to people that I've never imagined I just didn't imagine myself to be in this position, talking to people. And yeah, this is I hope it wasn't really long, but this is in a very short, I guess, my story.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nancy just reminded me that we're running out of time, so we have like 5 minutes. I gave you the host. Nancy, you're the host again. So if you want each one of the students maybe to say one sentence about, I think Christina, thank you very much. You also talked about GHIS, but maybe Odem and Bashak, one sentence about what how GHIS changed you, who you were, and what this year did to you? In really 1 minute, because that's what we have.
I can say. I think as Bashak said earlier, I know for myself that I'm so passionate about my goals, and comparing myself to my friends from home, I search for my goals now. I look for what I want to do, what I want to become, what change I want to see in the world, and I create a pathway to there. And I use GHIS, and I use my knowledge and my newly gained knowledge to help myself get there, and to help the world get to where I think it should be. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Bashak, last sentence.
Okay, so coming to GHIS was a quite hard decision for me and also for my family, because like for example, my parents' friends didn't quite understand why am I going to Israel, and they stopped communicating with my parents sometimes. And I learned that if you wanna solve a question, solve a problem, you have to know both sides or more than two sides, like the most that you can do by looking the problem from that perspective. And actually the lessons or the classes that I take in Givat Haviva actually helps me to see the world from different perspectives. I can see a problem that I only look from a Turkish perspective. Now I see it from an Israeli perspective or Armenian perspective. So it helped me like in Givat Haviva or in every school you have classes, you have exams, but in some schools, and they are actually, the number is very low, you learn the life long lessons that will help you in every part of your life. And Givat Haviva actually have been teaching those lessons to me. And like last year was my first year in Givat Haviva, and next year actually I'm very excited to go back to my home, to Israel, and to learn many more things that will change my life perspective and my future.
If you can give me for 2 seconds to just add to what Bashak said. I think what she said about like looking at different views and perspectives in each like conflict that we might face. I think what also like my peers can agree with is like we learned to not just only look at the like different perspectives and the views that all of us like have differently. I think we learned to just listen and to observe what the person in front of us is saying, and not to just wait until to respond to what we have. And I think we'll learn the value of listening to respect and to understand, and then to observe what we listen to. And I think this is an issue like it's many people like and older people facing all over the world, which is like what making all this like work comes. And I think this is a great value that we have earned in the school so far.
Thank you, guys. Nancy, to you, or Mark and Lynn.
There we go. Okay.
I got kicked off momentarily and I had to come back on. I just want to thank you so much for joining us. This is really a moving and compelling program, and I want to thank Lynn and Mark so much for bringing us all together. If members have questions or would like more information, what's the best way to contact you? Through Mark and Lynn, or should they?
Mark and Lynn are a great option. I will also write everyone my email. I would love to be in touch with anyone who is interested, either directly or through Mark and Lynn, and we can send also some videos and more information. And we are now working on a program together with Rotary, and we are very honored to be here. And we really thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm grateful for the fact that this would not normally be possible. And for the members, I just want to mention that our next meeting will be next Thursday, August 13th. And we look forward to seeing you again. And I'm certainly fascinated to hear more about your school and how it evolves and grows. It sounds like you have a very exciting future. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who joined us today.
And again, thank you to Lynn and Mark for bringing us.
Oh, absolutely.
and,
Hear, hear.
and for their commitment, which is amazing. Lynn, you want to say something?
Mark and I will keep all of you posted. And of course, this is a
Please.
very exciting global grant. And so we will all be talking about it and working on it. And we will be able to share and see these kids, you know, from an Arab town who never even met a Jew and whose parents would think it's terrible if he even tried talking to one. I mean, the whole thing is mind blowing. And from Turkey to be able to talk to people from Israel and
Yes.
Kosovo, and this is so mind boggling. And we are so proud to be a part of it. And we are proud to have Westwood Village Rotary because we're the host club in the United States. And I don't know if Menachem is still with
Menachem is here, yeah?
Menachem, the host club in Israel is the Haifa Club. So the Haifa Club and the Westwood Club are partners in this. And I thank you to my husband, Mark, who's been so amazing, your former Global Grants Chair, setting all this up. Take your hand away.
Amen.
So we're so excited. We really are. Thank you.
Right. Everybody
Thank you
have
very
a
much.
wonderful week. And I'll hopefully see most of you next week. And for Nurit and your students and your team, again, thank you for being here. And we look forward to hearing more about you.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Take
Thank you
care.
for staying up so late. It's in the middle of the night. Good night, you guys.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Okay. Now.